helping people to become successful, self-employed, freelance management trainers. And in this video, I want to talk to you about how to make a natural sounding video. How do I make my videos sound as if I'm just chatting to you in the room rather than some formal presentation to a camera? Now, I've got a list of about 15 points which we cover on our training program, but I'm just going to give you a top 5, some of my favorite ideas, because this is only a freebie. I'm going to give you a sample of some of the ideas of how to make your videos really natural sounding. And the first thing I would say is don't use a script. Okay, don't bother with buying an auto cue, writing a really detailed script, and then trying to read it out, because it will never sound natural. And I think I'm pretty good at reading out scripts. You can hardly tell I'm reading, but it does just somehow make it a bit more stilted. Of course, there are advantages with scripts. If you're going to go somewhere that's very expensive in a studio, it's probably a good idea to have a script ready. And if you want to be really precise about what you say and make a really tight video, then you probably need a script. But if you want it to be natural, and I think being natural is one of the most important things, then don't have a script. Just have some bullet points that you're going to talk about and talk about them. And don't worry about forgetting your talk, because if you do forget part of it, you can always have a look at your bullets. So I've actually got bullet points here of what I'm going to talk about today. And what I can do for my second bullet, if I can't remember it, is I can just pause the camera and I can just have a quick look at oh yeah, right, I'm going to talk about that next. And then I can go back to the camera. And of course, I just leave it rolling. And then later on, I go into iMovie and just cut a piece out. So it's much better to look away, come back and cut that out rather than to have a script and go through all the hassle of scripts. So that's the first thing. By the way, I'm not using that method for this video because I've got my little things here to help me remember what to say. And that's better for you as well because you get a visual reminder of my 5 points. And I've made them a little bit mysterious as well so that you can't guess what I'm going to say beforehand. And in fact, you're probably wondering what on earth these are going to be. So there's that extra element of suspense there. So that's the first thing. Don't read out a script. The second thing is to make sure you look exactly at the camera. So to do that, I've got a little post-it note actually stuck on my camera, so that while I'm talking, the arrow is pointing right at the camera. And that will make sure that I definitely talk to the camera and not anywhere else. So I have a big arrow every time I do this, pointing to the camera itself. And then you feel that I'm really talking to you. So if I'm talking just slightly like this, for example, the whole thing is awful. You can see it just doesn't work. So I have to look exactly at the camera. So my next tip is to be slightly more zoomed out than you need to. So if you take a slightly wider angle shot than you really need, you can crop it down later. And the definition is going to be good enough on an iPhone that you can do that without it getting at all grainy. And that means that if you move around slightly or you're not standing exactly where you expected, you'll still be in shot. Now, if you've got somebody operating the camera, of course, they can make sure you're in shot. But if you're doing it the way I do, where the camera's just sitting on a tripod and you're doing it yourself, then you don't want to be worrying about whether you're in shot. And you want to be able to move around a bit if you want to. So just zoom out slightly, and then when you edit it, you can crop it down. And then if you find that the camera was pointing slightly sideways, or if you're not standing exactly where you thought, you can just crop a slightly different rectangle from the one you were going to crop, and you won't have a problem with you being out of shot. Now, my fourth tip is don't worry what you look like. Don't worry about whether your hair is perfect. Don't spend ages agonizing over whether your nose is too big or something, because the audience don't care. You know, at the moment, I really need a haircut because we've been locked down for too long and we can't go to a barber. So, you know, my hair's a bit long, but who cares? It's the message that people want. So don't get all anxious and worried and spend ages trying to prepare yourself to look perfect, because it doesn't really matter what you look like. As long as you don't look distractingly weird, you just want to look reasonably smart, reasonably normal, and get on with making the video. So don't let that put you off. Don't worry about the fact that you don't look like a film star or something, because people don't really want that anyway. They just want somebody normal. So don't get too upset about how you look. And then my final tip is take a couple of takes every time. Always do your video twice, because the second time you do it, the things you want to say will be in your mind and they'll flow a bit more. They'll be a bit smoother. But also, when you do the second take, you've already got the first take in the bag, so you know that that was fine. So then, when you do the second take, you can really relax, and you'll almost certainly do a better second take because you know you've already got one in the bag. So do a second take, even if you think the first one was great. In fact, almost because you think the first one was great, because then it relaxes you more for the second take. So I would say those are my top 5 tips for making your videos naturally, to make it feel as if you're just chatting to the camera, because that's what you want to get. Anyway, if you want to know more about being a trainer, contact me on successfultrainers.com, and I would be pleased to help, and I would be pleased to advise you on whether you can be a successful trainer and how to get started doing that. So maybe I'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.